We often don't realize that we are the key to our own happiness, and that happiness starts with healing and transformation. Whether you need healing, guidance, clarity, understanding, or just some honest sister talk to feel connected, heard, and supported, you are welcome and safe here. So join the conversation and be healed. Welcome to Soul Healing Conversations with your host, Roz Kincaid.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Soul Healing Conversations. I'm your host, Roz Kincaid. I'm a certified spiritual life coach, transformational empowerment coach, and intuitive healer. Y'all know I'm still playing around with these titles, so I'll figure it out. Just go with me, okay? And in this episode, we are going to be talking with my special guest, Maralis Self, and I'm very excited about this. But listen, before I introduce her, I just want to give you a reminder that the next Soul Expansion Soundboard live stream with my co-host Julian Crossan Hill is coming up this Friday, November 18th. So y'all be sure to check us out live. You get to ask us questions, make comments, you can engage with us, all that good stuff. And if you can't join us live, then be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel as well as my Facebook page, because there is where you'll be able to get the replays of our show. Also, I have space available in my empowerment private coaching program. Listen, this program is for you if you are ready to go deeper or gain a deeper level of self awareness, because that's important. If you want a sustainable process to maintain inner peace, you want to show up confidently in who you are, you want to express yourself without feeling guilt, shameful, or feeling any kind of self doubt, or if you've been feeling the nudge to work with me one on one, listen, I'm all here for it. This is where we get to go under the surface. We get to go and we uproot and we heal any and everything that's in your way of all the great things that you want out of life, like peace, balance, satisfaction, pleasure. And I'm not just talking about sex, but pleasure, joy, and whatever else it is that you want. So, this is where we take an honest look. We take an honest inventory of what might be out of alignment and what's getting your attention and what wants to be dealt with, and get the wisdom from that and learn the tools to set things in order so that you can make aligned decisions that allow you to experience all that goodness that you want. So I have a few different types of commitment levels, so be sure to check those out or message me if you have questions. All of the links are in the show description for you, so I look forward to working with you. Okay, y'all, so let's get into this topic. Today, we're going to be talking actually about intuitive healing. It's a thing. Yes, it
Mhm.
is.
Yes.
And today, my guest is Maralis Self. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Maralis is an entrepreneur and a military spouse. She runs a multifaceted business. Her work as an energy worker in the healing arts focuses on mind, body, spirit wellness. She's also a certified yoga teacher. As well, she provides virtual assistant services, which we kind of just talked about off camera, for women owned businesses, providing content creation. She does ghostwriting. She works on your podcast. You will get that straight for you. And she also does social media management. So, welcome to the show, Marilis. I'm so
Thank
happy
you
to have you
so
here.
much. Thank you, Roz, for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I cannot wait to get into our conversation.
Yes, absolutely. I've been wanting to talk with another intuitive healer
Mm,
for a very long time that has a and we both have similar stories actually. What y'all don't know is that Marilis and I are new. We are friends, but she feels very familiar to me, like I've known her for a lifetime, and she's just a sweet soul. And she actually, I don't know, as it was as if somebody in my network or my tribe was exiting and she was entering, and that's how we connected. And as one of the people in my network was leaving the area, she said, hey, I know somebody who's moving to the area soon, and she's a light worker. She's gonna need, some support getting set up and getting familiar with the community out here in Northern Virginia. And I was like, all right, well, send out. And not knowing who she was, y'all. I didn't know who she was. And listen, I as soon as I connected with you, Marilis, I just felt like this heart connection. It was like, because I'm a little bit hard edged, if y'all didn't know, and it just feels like yin and yang, or yin and yang, with me and you, and it just feels good. It feels right. It feels like the pillow that I need to lay on. Y'all know I like an analogy, so I really appreciate this new connection that you and I are forging, and I'm super super excited to be talking with you today.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I love that. And I agree. I love that yin and yang energy that we have. It has been a pleasure and really a gift to me to meet you. So thank you for being so welcoming, not only to your circle, but to this community. So I appreciate you.
Anytime, sis. Anytime. All right. So let's just dive in real quick and share with us kind of how you got started as an intuitive healer.
Mhm. So I'm going to give you the condensed background. I grew up Roman Catholic, Latina. I am Latina, right? And so really placed in a small box of expectations of how you should be. And anything in the spiritual or esoteric realm was really considered kind of taboo. You don't talk about that. You're going to, all the assumptions that we are given, they're placed on us, and belief systems that we are placed on us about exploring spirituality and your own connection to spirit, to source in your own way. So fast forward, I really believed in that, used those ideals as I grew up, and they still influence parts of me today as far as my moral compass and being a good human. Those are the pieces that I chose to keep.
Mm-hmm.
But fast forward to the age of 40, where I had been in a marriage for 19 years to a narcissist, like abusive in, and not physically, but emotionally, mentally, psychologically, and kind of struggling because I always felt questioned my sexuality. And so that spouse was a service member. They deployed. I filed for divorce, and that was it, really. And the straw that broke the camel's back was seeing my daughter and just looking at her, and she was still young, and thinking, is this the example that I want to set? And the strong answer was no. So I decided to leave that and then begin not only my journey of healing, but my journey of true self-discovery. I had worn this mask for so long, and now I just really wanted to figure out who the hell I was. Who am I, and what do I stand for, and what is my soul mission? So I began learning. I began really simple. I began meditating. I began practicing affirmations. So I started listening to the OG, I love her, Louise Hay, and her voice is so soothing and calm. So she was my pillow, let's say that.
Mm-hmm.
And she helped me to begin rescripting thought patterns in my head, to seeing things differently, to leaning into optimism. And so that was really the start of my journey. And that I credit my intuition to that. Whatever my connection is to source, to spirit, that said you need something different. It doesn't live in the four walls in the building structure of a church. You need something different that's going to make you feel connected and empower you to heal and to grow. And that's what led me into Reiki.
Mm-hmm.
So I began going to a practitioner and experiencing that healing for myself in the way that space was being held for me, right? And I needed that. And as I began to go through that, I came to understand, because before that, I thought empowerment meant I got out, I'm a badass, I did it, I made it, right? And I thought that was empowerment. But I was really unknowingly negating all the trauma and all the abuse that I had experienced it. And I realized through this Reiki work that healing, growth, expansion requires you to also look at the shadow. And so I did that and had a few dark nights of the soul, and then led me to this place where I really felt like it was so profound for me and equipped me with so many tools to work on myself that I needed to pay that forward and do this work as well. And so I went through all the training, and then I wanted a body component that paired with the energy. So I did my yoga teacher certification, and that's led me to where I am now.
Oh, girl, I got so many questions, and thank you for sharing all of that. Your background, as far as like being a part of the church, is very similar to mine. So I'm curious if if before the divorce, before all of that, was there any, what event, if any, was there that kind of triggered you to start to question all of that religious foundation that you had been taught as a child, and it kind of just started to come loose for you? Was that even a thing for you?
So I think that it started coming loose about 10 years into the marriage. So I would say in my 30s, I just started feeling like, and even when Facebook like flashes back and shows me things from even 10 years ago, I'm like, oh, I've been thinking about this for a minute. This is not new thought, this questioning of my connection to source. And do I really need an intermediary to vouch for me with source, right? Whatever we call that, whatever you call that, God, whatever that feels like for you. Can I have that connection on my own and truly trust and have faith in that connection and feel supported and held? And so I stopped really going to mass, so going to church, and just focus on nurturing that connection myself. And then I think in those last years being in that marriage, just like, I think when we're going through difficult moments, we say, why me? And if you've been raised in a church environment, I think it's always like, God, why me? Why are you putting me through these trials? If you love me, if you support me, and we begin to question, right? So the absolute break where I just kind of felt I need to surrender. I had post first year of marriage, I was in a messy, relationship, which I think is typical for that first thing after divorce. And we went to an event in a church, okay? And this was a Baptist church. I grew up Catholic. So it was an Easter service, and they were doing I don't even have the right verbiage for it. All I know is that it was the youth troupe, and they were dancing. So kind of like a dance to demonstrate the lyrics of the song, right?
Oh, like a liturgical dance.
Yes. Well, listen. And if you've heard this song, you're going to get the goosebumps and feel me right away. So the song was Take Me to the King by Tamala Mann. I just started listening to those lyrics, and I'm sitting in this church watching them move, but really I'm hearing it. And I said, yeah, that's it. I have, and she says in these lyrics, lay me at the throne, leave me here alone. Like, this is just me. I'm just going to show up to you, God, source, right? And just do what you need to do with me, right? But do something. It's kind of the essence of the song. And I wept in that church. I wept. And that was the moment that I knew it doesn't matter where you are supported, you are held. And now it's the time to rebuild.
I felt that. And you've told me this before, and I'm still like, because I know what that moment is like. I know what that moment, being in that energy, is like, where it's like I can't do anything else. And I'm not saying that you have to be in church to have a moment like this, but there are, when you are connected and committed to transformation, to growth, plugged in, all of that, there are going to be moments where you're not going to have a choice really but to surrender, because things are going to feel really strained and constricted and contrasted, and it's like, fuck, fine, do it, take it, I can't handle it. And so for some people it's going to be in an angry outburst, for some people it's going to be an emotional release.
Yes.
And for those of you who are interested in that song, Tamala Mann, Take Me to the King, I'm going to drop that also in the show description so that you can reference that, because if anybody knows anything about gospel music, the energy that comes through gospel music is healing in itself. I don't care if you never went to church.
Yes.
You put on a gospel song, let alone Tamala Mann, you are going to feel moved.
You got that right. And that just brought a little memory into my head, because you're so right. So, and I'm connecting the dots as we speak. So I love when this happens. When I, right after high school, went to college, again, still Catholic, I had some girlfriends who were in a choir, and they said, we joined this choir and it's so fun. You should join. You like to sing generally. Like, I'm no singer here. I'm no, you know what I'm saying? But
Right.
I like to sing. So I go, and it's a gospel choir, right? And I'm like, all right, let's do this. I'm going to try it. And I got to tell you, I never felt more connected to source than when I was singing gospel music. So you hit that nail on the head. That might have been the beginning of me saying, is this the only way to connect with source? And so I've always been connected through music, through lyrics that really hit the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And gospel music, of course, it hits the heart. But the truth is, if I had heard that song anywhere else, on the radio, at the grocery store, it probably wouldn't have impacted me as much as being in a place where I have to focus on what is happening in front of me out of reverence and respect. And I think that I was led there on purpose. Like, stop, listen. And I listened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Oh man. Oh, I just love it. Y'all, somebody need to put on some gospel music right now, because
Mm-hmm.
if you want to, and music in general, has a way of shifting and breaking up the energy as well as if it's stagnant. So if you want something impactful, gospel music.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the other thing that's coming up that you mentioned. You talked about not needing an intermediary to connect with source. And I find that interesting. And I know this is going to be, a little bit controversial for people who are listening, who are still connected, to the church. But like, Jesus ain't never done nothing wrong to me. Okay. Jesus is a friend. But I often find myself questioning, it's like, why do I need questioning me? Why do I need to go through this entity to get connected right to source? And even as a psychic myself,
Mm-hmm.
why do I need to go talk to somebody when I can just tap the source myself?
Mm-hmm.
And you know what it comes down to? Trust.
Yeah, for sure. For
Trust.
sure.
Trust that I don't know that I'm doing it the right way. I don't know that I'm getting the right information. I don't know that I'm connecting with, so like, you will know when you are connected with source. Your body will tell you,
Mm-hmm.
even if your mind is trying to convince you otherwise and keep you, safe, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
You will feel it in your body. And I'm sure, as a yoga instructor, you know what I'm talking about. You feel the energy move in your body. Is
Yeah.
anything coming up for you when I talk about that?
You absolutely do. You know when you have made that connection and when you feel held. And it is sometimes it takes a while for people to connect to who may not be used to tuning into that knowing, because it can bring up, pockets of fear. Or maybe you've been traumatized by church or a religious setting in some way. So the idea of connecting and surrendering and having trust is like, no way. And that's a big part of the work that I do. I would say a third of my clients are
Mm,
recovering from some sort of religious trauma.
wow.
So I think that for me, specifically, when you talk about like your connection to Jesus, right? And why do I have to go through any other um, entity? I really struggled with that too, because, when we are in the Catholic Church, well, first we need to go to a priest to confess, right? I
Hmm.
need to go download all my sins, all my bad shit to this man who's going to then tell me your bad things. Now go and do this to remedy it, right?
Right.
Why? Why do I need that middle person? And then when I started to explore the idea of saints, and we kind of
Hmm.
do these prayers, where fast forward to where I am now, to me, I consider all of that energy, even Jesus, even the saints, even other deities and entities like Ganesh, for example, clearer of
Hmm.
obstacles. To me, they are my companions. So if I'm going through a really difficult time, I know that I can say, God, I'm talking to you, and so, won't you just, bring your energy along on this thought, whatever I'm thinking about, whatever I'm working on. So for example, if I know I'm working through something difficult, I might call on that energy of Ganesh and say, Ganesh, clearer of obstacles, help me, empower me, like share your energy with me to work through this, right? And that's really different from worshiping other deities.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
worship involved. It's like me saying, Roz, girl, I'm having a real hard time here. Won't you just, share with me some words of encouragement and please positive thoughts on this experience that I am having to help support me with your energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
an invitation to be supported with the energy, but really I'm going directly to source for that conversation,
Yeah.
right?
And you have, I like the word companions. I was thinking that, and I'm glad you said it, because I think that if we reframe or look at all of these entities and deities as either as messengers or as companions, it kind of helps us move closer a little more easily to source and
Yes,
trust it a little bit more, if that makes sense. Mm,
that makes
that's
a total sense.
that's good. That's so good. We kind of talked about it a little bit already, but when we talk about intuitive healing, what do you define intuitive healing as?
So to me, when I think about intuitive healing, it's the willingness
Hmm.
to connect with your own inner knowing, to have faith and trust and listen to whatever you perceive to be greater than you. And for some people that might be the energy of the earth, that might be the elements, and whatever it is that you perceive to be greater than you, right? That is moving toward your good, and trusting in that and tuning into self, like having that tune in toward the body. So if we pair that with example for yoga, I
Hmm.
start every class with a body scan. And what we're doing in that body scan is we are noticing each level of our body. We're noticing the shoulders. Are our shoulders cranky? Is one side tighter than the other, right? So that's tuning the dial in to body awareness. Now I'm tuning into the awareness of how my body feels in this moment. And if we want to go deeper now, we're going to go into the emotional body and we're going to tune into those things. So the willingness to have the awareness and to turn that dial inward, and then using your energy and your companions or your tools or techniques that you have learned and been equipped with to promote the healing within yourself.
Hmm.
It's about not only the trust and connection to source, but the willingness to be aware and to listen to the feedback that you get from your own physical body and energy body.
What you're saying is the healing is already present and you're tapping into it from within.
Yes, the
Mm.
healing is already available to you. Are you going to now tap in and be a co-conspirator, co-participant in your healing, right? When we just say somebody else heal me, right? And this is no knock whatsoever to doctors or medicine or anything like that.
Right.
But when we put all our eggs in that basket, all of our faith in someone else to heal us, I think that's disempowering. We
Mhm.
need to remember that we are living this experience in our bodies. How can we then cooperate with whatever other support systems, and sometimes maybe that's medicine, right?
Mhm.
That is working toward our healing. How can we empower that? How can we connect to that and help to even speed that up, right? And it takes work. It's not magic, it's not woo, it's not mystical, it's work and it's
Mhm.
dedication, and that really comes from self-love.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with you that it's work, but it doesn't have to feel like it's efforting. You know what I'm saying? Like it's gonna feel uncomfortable at the start, but it doesn't have to be this striving all the time. Like I think honestly, a wounded masculine
Mhm.
where you're overworked, you're burned out, I think that all of that causes some of that need for healing. And I can kind of see it both ways where it works against you, but maybe you have been allowed to do all that efforting and striving and activity and pushing and pulling so that you can get yourself to a place of healing. Otherwise, you might not have gotten there without, um, situations being aligned in order to put you there into a healing space. And it is empowering when you learn techniques and tools and you learn from other people how to do this stuff yourself. It's like And I'm sure it's probably the same for you, where you sought out an energy healer,
Mhm.
and then somebody influenced you or inspired you to learn how to do it on your own
Right.
so that you could take care of yourself. Like, I'm all about taking care of self,
Yes.
because I feel like that is going to be a projection and a reflection of how you take care of other people,
Mhm.
right? And I'm just other people in your family, children in your life, people that you serve in your business, whatever the case may be. Like, everything is a projection of how you do or take care of, or how you think of yourself.
Mm.
And when you are able to learn how to heal yourself, which is possible,
Yes.
it's definitely possible, and you can do it with support. You don't have to be out here doing it on your own. You can
Mhm.
do it with support. And when you learn how to do that, you do it more for other people, easily for other people, because you're practiced on doing it your own, with yourself.
Mhm. I agree. And I want to touch on the question you have. Does it always have to feel like work? Does it always have to feel like striving? And it's like a good news, bad news situation. There's
Mm-hmm.
always going to be the work when you're healing, right? Think about healing. That means there's an injury somewhere, right?
Yeah.
There's something that needs to be worked on. So there is going to be the hard part. And to me, that hard part really lives in the third eye, in the
Mm-hmm.
awareness, right? The hard part is admitting that something is not okay. And having that awareness can trigger feelings where then you begin to feel like, oh, I didn't want to look at that. I didn't want to see that. So it requires a measure of courage as well to look at those things and say, the next part, the part that begins to invite ease and surrender, is how can I work on that? How can I
Mm-hmm.
be a better version of myself? And then you have to allow it. You absolutely must allow it. And the allowing happens in the quieter moments. It really does. That's where you really are holding space for that mind and body healing. If we think about even meditation, like this is comes from my yoga teaching too. Meditation triggers the parasympathetic nervous system, and we let the body begin to relax so the body can go into repair mode. And it
Mm.
works the same for your spirit too, like your spiritual energy and your the flow of emotional energy in your body. So yeah, good news, bad news, there's always going to be hard work and that striving piece in the middle. And the striving is all about self-awareness and
Yes.
discovery so that you can see what you have to change, and then you allow.
Mm. I find that the piece between, or the space between, the awareness and the allowing is the hardest part for me personally,
Mhm.
where you've discovered the wound. You know something ain't all right. Something's fucked up. And but you don't know what to do. You
Mhm.
don't know what the answer is. And it's like, I don't know what to do. And honestly, I'm gonna have a real candid moment with y'all. Like 2 days ago from this recording, I stood at my sink washing dishes and just looked at my husband and said, I don't know what's happening to me.
Mhm.
I don't know what's happening to me. Things are changing. Things don't feel bright and cheery and energetic, and something's off, and I don't know what it is. Something has happened to me, and I don't know what it is. And I wept. I wept for myself. I think
Yeah.
I wept because I had to release and let go of trying to know,
Mhm.
and I had to just be in the awareness that something is off, and that's all I know right now.
Yes.
And sometimes that's all you need to know, because you gotta at some point you gotta take your hands off of it
Mhm.
and just be open and ready to receive further instructions. And that
Yes.
might mean you're gonna be in uncomfortable for a little while.
Yes, this is like, so this reminds me of the way that I teach people who are overcoming any religious training or conditioning. So I'm going to use a word here, prayer. So
Mm-hmm.
I say, this is what I believe. Prayer is the talking piece. God, life is hard right now. I don't know what to do. Show me the way, send me the answers, right? We've put out the petition, and you can change sub God for universe, right? We just say out to the universe, universe, what's happening in my life? I need some direction. I need some guidance. And I teach that meditation is the listening. That's when you just get quiet, hush your mouth, shut your lips, so let your mind calm down and just allow for that guidance to be given to you. If we're so busy, even if we're not saying with our mouth, the mind chatter is going because we're asking all the questions and we want to know and we want to know right now because this discomfort feels real icky. If we stay in that space, we're never going to be quiet enough to listen and to receive the guidance. And the guidance shows up for us as inner knowing. For people like you and I with psychic abilities, we might hear it. We might see it clearly in our mind's eye. We might even see a visual representation of it. But if we never step back and get quiet, we're never going to see it.
Mm. You got to get quiet. You have to get quiet, and for people who are, because I can hear somebody out in the human network saying, well, how do I get quiet? I can't just sit quietly. Well, getting quiet might look like quit doing so damn much.
Mm-hmm.
Stop raising your hand and signing up for stuff for whatever reason. Like, clear your plate.
Mm-hmm.
Get your environment quiet. Calm your mind. Like, take 4 minutes before you fall asleep at night to do some breathing. Just
Yeah.
deep breathing. Like, I don't want to give, people, too much to do to get quiet,
Yes.
but it's going to take you calming everything down and reducing what is on your plate,
Yeah.
and kind of
Do
like putting your
less.
energy in. Thank you.
Do less.
Do less.
Do less. If you go out for a walk in nature, truly be on that walk in nature. Don't be thinking about your to-do list and what you got to do tomorrow and what's coming up after you leave from the park. That be in the experience nature, smell the scents in the air, feel the breeze on your face. Just that's getting quiet. Even though you're doing something, you're quieting all the other distractions and just being. It's part of that is practicing mindfulness, and so it doesn't mean I'm going to turn the mind off, because that's actually not possible.
Yeah.
It's really about being intentional and doing less.
Take a consumption fast. Like, turn the TV off. You don't have to consume the news that's repeating every hour starting at 4 o'clock, and that goes till 11. They saying the same thing. They showing the same thing.
Yes.
Get off of Instagram. Stop scrolling Facebook. Give TikTok a pause. Like, you might need to reduce your follow list. Like, reduce some of that stuff and back off of some of this consumption. That's the other thing, because and this is coming up for me because I'm in this right now, where it's a lot of chatter, and it's coming from a bunch of devices where I'm hearing a lot of people say a lot of different things, and it's triggering that core wound in me that says I'm not doing enough. I'm not enough. Taking a consumption fast is a good thing, whether it's for a day, a week, or two. But it's a helpful thing to do. I want to switch gears real quick and talk a little bit about this very exceptional and special gift that you have. You read hawk patterns. Like, I have never in my life met somebody who can look at a hawk, and I guarantee you, this hawk out here that's living over here in these trees is gonna squall at me and then scream at
Any
me in
second
just a
now.
minute, any second now. You read hawk patterns. How do you weave and integrate that into your intuitive work? I'm just so interested in this.
Let me share with you, girl. So here's where it began. So as I started my intuitive journey, and the mind was open, the third eye, the crown is open, and I'm like, all right, when we begin a spiritual awakening, there is this urgency. This happens across the board. Like, okay, what does this mean? I need to know, what are my gifts? What am I supposed to be doing? Right? That urgency, it's hyper stimulating. So once I kind of came down from that high, I just said, well, what am I tuning into? What am I noticing? What is drawing my attention? I truly thought that my path, because of my ancestry and my culture, was to be in Santeria. So Santeria is a comes from the culture of Puerto Rico. It's something that many people practice there. And my father was a priest, we say it loosely. He was a santero in that religion and that belief system. So I thought, oh, this must mean that's what I'm supposed to do, right? Okay, great. Let's do it. So I start researching the practices and really diving in. And I was like, this doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like me. Like I tried those shoes on and they were giving me calluses. No, didn't work for me. It didn't feel like the right fit for me. But yet I knew that there was something deeper than just like having awarenesses or clear senses, because I was being guided to connect with plants. I was being given plant knowledge that there's no way that I could know. And the hawk was really constantly calling to me. Every time I'd see a hawk, I'd just look at it and feel it just so in awe. And I was like trying to figure out why this hawk was showing up for me. So I began training with a shaman, an amazing female shaman. And right away on my first journey, the red-tailed hawk showed up for me as my spirit animal. And it was that training and spending time with hawk energy that really strengthened my belief and my understanding of the hawk energy and the flight pattern of the hawk. It took a lot of time observing the way the hawk moves, everything from the turn of its head, the way the wings are spanned, the direction, is it riding the wind, is it cutting down, all of these things all meant different things. So I began applying that to myself and having the connection with the hawk. And it really got to this point of nurturing and development that I could go outside and call hawk energy and a hawk would appear. And it became really interesting because at that time I lived in a neighborhood, like in a subdivision. You don't really see hawks in a populated subdivision often. And I did not have a tree in my backyard. We had a whole playground for the neighborhood in the backyard, no tree in the front yard. I had like a little rose bush. So why is this hawk like coming here? So I knew that I was being trained by spirit along with my shaman trainer to understand the flight of the hawk. And then and then people started coming to me without me asking for the people to come to me. So prime example, I walk into a shop owner who's intuitive herself, and she, it's like crystals and cards and all kinds of divination tools in her shop. And I was like, I love this shop. It's beautiful. And then she says, I feel like I need to show you this picture. And she shows me a picture of a hawk. And I said, interestingly enough, I read hawk flight patterns. And she said, oh my gosh, this is why you're in my store today. So I'm just there to buy some rose quartz. And an hour later, I read her whole experience with the hawk energy. And, it just is exactly like I read it. And it, showed up exactly that way. So that's really about trust and surrender. Absolutely trust and surrender. I had to trust because I could have said, right? And me of 10 years ago would have said, that's bullshit. Why do you think you can understand what a hawk's flight pattern is saying to you? Like, who does that? But I had to let all of that conditioning go and say, I'm being shown this for a reason. How can I help myself and seek guidance first and understand the guidance that spirit is sending to me through this hawk? How can I understand that and allow that to inform me? And then as I really nurtured that, and I did that for a year and a half before I even shared that with other people. And then, it shows up. How can I help others with this gift?
Fascinating. That so fascinating. I'm telling you, I've never. You are the first, and you'll probably be the only one that I ever meet in life who can do something like this. Now, I'm curious. Is this a gift that comes up in typical readings for you, or like do you visualize a hawk, or does it need to be a hawk that's actually flying in the air? How does that work when people come to you for a reading or for any kind of intuitive healing?
So the hawk can really show up any way. Of course, if it's live in front of you, that's, to me, that's potent. Like, we got a potent symbol, we got a potent message coming through. But then there are more subtle ways that hawk can come through in imagery. It can come through on a card. Like if I'm doing an oracle reading for someone, it might come through in something they see. But I'll expand that to say, really, it's not just the hawk. The hawk trained me to understand signs, to understand patterns, and to read deeper, to be able to decipher other messages. So messages that come in different ways and through different means. A lot of them I receive in my psychic senses, and I see them and have to translate them into words that I can communicate to the person that I'm reading for.
See, that all speaks again to deepening the connection to God, whatever you want to call God, to a higher source, to spirit. Um, because it does send symbols and signs,
Yes.
and for y'all who are one, it doesn't always have to be a hawk. It could be a bluebird, it could be a
Right.
cloud form, it could be anything. And I think there's, if I recall, there I think there's some mention in the Bible that God will use anything. He used the burning bush.
Mm-hmm.
He used people. He used dreams. God will use anything to communicate you. So you can't contain God, or what or whatever you call God, into a box. And you have to be open. And you have to. And key thing that you said is that you let go of your conditioning about who God is, how He operates, ways that He talks, and just be open, because God, like, He can come any kind of way.
Yeah,
Like,
don't put any reins, right? Don't
mm-hmm,
contain the energy. Like, I'm gonna see if you, it's gonna come in the way that the person can hear it and understand it
yeah.
best. So to someone else, like, they might hate birds. Maybe they got bit by a bird. So certain, I was gonna say that certainly a bird energy wouldn't come through, but sometimes it will come through to challenge you to change your mind about your fears.
There you
So
go.
that's like a, kind of caveat that it could come through still, but it really will come in a way that will make sense to the person. Sometimes I receive guidance, I receive imagery, I hear things that that makes no sense to me. But once I say it to the person, I can see immediately the
Mm-hmm.
understanding that they have in the words that I've spoken or the message that I've conveyed, because I can see it in their face. And a lot of times it's in tears in their eyes. Like, I'll never forget the time that I'm Hispanic. I speak Spanish, but I could hear words in another language that sounded similar to Spanish, but didn't sound like Spanish
Mm-hmm.
exactly. So I said the words, which sounds like I'm just fumbling things out of my mouth. And it turns out it was Tagalog. And it was this person's mother who had passed away and things that she would say to him. And I
Wow.
was just like, mind blown, mind
Mm.
blown.
Listen, you can expect the unexpected
Yes.
when you're dealing with intuition and spirit. So best thing to do is just be open,
Mm-hmm.
and be open to receive it in any way that it comes. Pause, ask for guidance. Don't just bypass and skip over stuff, y'all. Like, we are particles of God Himself or herself for a reason, and we have just as much um power and intention to create, to destroy, to, to transform,
Yes.
to speak, communicate on an esoteric level in any way, shape, or form. You got to be open. Have to be open.
That's it.
Last question, real quick. Share with us what are some of the biggest misconceptions that you've come across about intuitive healing?
So I think that the first misconception is that you have to be, I like what you said, like, this is available to everyone, that you have to be some sort of image of a person or some sort of lifestyle of a person. And I can directly relate that to the way that social media conveys messaging about what people who are spiritual or intuitive should look like, right? Which I think that for me is why I'm so conscious about what people see. And it's authentic. It's me, the person you
Mm-hmm.
see there. If you were in a video chat with me, it's the same person you're going to get, right? and I'm just a real human being. So people think that it has to look a certain way, and it doesn't. It has to look a way that makes sense to you and that feels right to you. Also, it is accessible to everyone. It is about tuning into your intuition, your own intuition. And if we want to get sciencey about it, we know that human beings only access and use X percentage of their brain power. When you allow yourself and nurture and invite the ability to use more of that brain power, that's when intuition really kicks in, when you can really nurture that connection to source. So I think that's the most common one. Like, I can't do that. That's not accessible to me. It is. You just have to be open-minded and willing, because if you close your mind to that, then you are missing. You're missing. And just like you said, Roz, like, God will send you message any kind of way, any kind of way. And you're going to keep getting the message until you listen and until you hear it and receive it, right? So that is probably number one on the list, that that's not accessible to me. I can't do that. And the truth is that you absolutely can. We all can.
Yeah, we all can. We all can learn to use our intuition. We can all develop it. It ain't just me. It's not just Maralis. It's not just uh uh these famous psychic mediums out here that can, connect and get data and information and insight and guidance and wisdom. You can do this on an everyday level.
Mm-hmm.
I can show you.
Yes. I want to say this. Yes. But let
Yes.
me put this out there, because this is
Mm-hmm.
a super important thing that I think people miss, overlook, or don't even pay attention to. Yet people are being victimized. Just Roz and I just happen to be really good human beings, right? So we're coming from that space of light and kindness and love, and truly that servant leadership, the intention to help others become better versions of themselves. But just like yin and yang, good and bad exists. So there are people who are able to tap into this energy and are using it in a negative way. They are creating disempowerment. They are nurturing disempowerment and creating this kind of dependency, codependency that is not healthy. We need to, I think that it is our soul mission it's my soul mission. And I'm sure you would say, Roz, too, with your gifts, to help other people with these gifts and not create this dynamic that is unhealthy. So please, if you take nothing else from this conversation that you heard today, don't trust anyone who jumps in your inbox and tells you that they've got a spiritual message for you, that they have heard from somewhere, they have to deliver something to you, and they're going to ask you, can I offer you a reading? Please say no. Because what really they're saying is, do you give me permission to access your energy? No one should be able to access your energy without permission. The minute you say, yeah, what do you have to say? You've given them access, right? So please be really discerning. A true practitioner, a person who works with integrity like Roz and I do, we're never going to hit you up in your inbox and say, I have something to tell you. It's different if you have a personal relationship with someone. Like, I might say, Roz, girl, you came to me in a dream and I think I need to share this message with you. That's different. We have a personal relationship. But some rando that jumps in your DM, that's not it.
Mm-mm.
That is not it. Do you agree, Roz?
100, 1000%, wholeheartedly, completely.
Mm.
I can't even believe the unmitigated gall of people doing this kind of stuff, shaming people, trying to prey on people. Listen, and another thing, if y'all, if anybody is out here posing as me or as Maralis, y'all need to let us know with quickness, because we don't do that. That's not, like, we got to answer for that, and I don't want to have to answer for something like that. That just ain't how we roll. So thank you. Thank you for putting that out there. Thank you for saying that, because people need to be more aware that that's not how um uh people who share light or do energy work or intuitive healing, coaching, all of that stuff. That's not acting in integrity, and that's not how we do things. So thank you. Thank you so much. So listen, before we wrap up, can you share with us a couple of your offerings and how people can connect with you after the show?
I sure can. So you can connect with me on Instagram or Facebook at empowered energy _. So that little underscore, I don't know why I threw it in there because it's tricky, but it's in there, empowered energy underscore. You will find me there. Even if you typed in my name, you would find me. There aren't very many people named Maralis out here. So you'll find me in that way. So some of the things that my offerings, we can work together. I offer virtual Reiki sessions. So Reiki is the energy of source, and that transcends time and space. So it doesn't matter where you are. I work with people in Australia, people in the Middle East, anywhere you are, we can work together. And that's your energy clearing and balancing. I offer intuitive readings, including when it's called for, my mediumship abilities will kick in. If, someone wants to show up and say, hey, we'll let them in the door. So I offer intuitive readings. And what I'm really excited about is I am offering curated private retreats. So this is for individuals or small groups where we work together to create a retreat that is designed to uplift and empower you and support you on your goals. So this is no two are alike. It's specifically curated for the person, and down from the location to the activities that we do to the food we eat. So those are the things I'm really excited about. And yeah, I'd love for you to connect with me. You can also email me at empoweredenergy.me@gmail.com. My website is www.empoweredenergy.me, M-E.
Yes. Yes, for all the information. I love it. Thank you so much, Maralis. Thank you for this wonderful conversation. I really appreciate your presence, being here, being with us on the podcast today. And y'all, that's all we have for you today. And let me say this before we get out of here. Intuition is real, y'all. And intuitive healing around your energy, your thoughts, and your emotion is real too. Okay. So I encourage you, do all you can to nurture and heal yourself so that you can live a life that feels whole. Like you already are whole, but maybe you don't feel whole. So
Right.
do all you can to heal so that you can experience the feeling of wholeness and things that are satisfying to you. Right?
Yes.
Again, don't forget to check out the info in the show description for all my offerings and all of Maralis's offerings and ways to connect with both of us. And as well how you can connect with Maralis as well. So thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks.
Bye. Hey, and thanks so much for hanging in there with me all the way to the end of the podcast. I hope you got lots of value from today's episode and feel more empowered and more inspired than you did before. If you enjoyed this episode as much as I did doing it, then share it with somebody that might resonate with it. Also, I would really appreciate it if you could leave me a 5-star review to help me get the word out about the show. And if at any point you have questions or topics you want me to riff about, as you can see, I like to talk, then I invite you to get on my social media platforms and just message me. And if you're feeling the nudge to work with me, then check out my offerings on my website. Everything you need to connect with me is in the show notes. So until next time, be empowered.